everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Heroes Peak podcast. I am your host, Chris, and we are here for the glorious evolution. This is James and Mike. How are you guys doing today?
A little cold, the weather around here. In the morning it's like 40 degrees, midday 55, now it's 25.
Yeah, it did do quite a drop. Mike's, you're probably the benchmark here for cold. Usually, you snowing yet?
Oh, it's been snowing. You guys haven't got snow?
I got
We started
got like
getting
a
snow in
got like a
August.
dusting.
Yeah, I think you did send a text one time. I was like, snow. It's like 60 degrees over here.
We're not Buffalo. Buffalo like gets shit, and then it like we get a sprinkle or something. Like it's very weird. The lake protects us or something. I don't know. Even though there's land between here and Buffalo, so I don't know what the fuck is going on. All right, since I don't know what's going on. Speaking of the glorious evolution, we are here to talk about Arcane season 2, which Mike pretends he has watched. And
Oh, I watched it.
good. Here we go. All right. I do have quite a lot of notes written, but I promise we do not do the scene by scene review anymore. I tried that when we first started.
God,
So,
trauma flashbacks.
no, we are not doing that. I promise I won't. But I do have a lot of questions. So let's get us started. Arcane is a Netflix series based on the uh, Riot Company, Riot Games, game League of Legends, loosely based on League of Legends. Don't worry, you don't have to have seen played the game. Don't need to have anything about the lore. It's a show unto itself, with a story unto its own. It is the second season we are talking about, though we will talk about the first two. So if you haven't seen it, there will be spoilers, but you should go see it anyway. And here we go. So, guys, what was your grade? Do you remember what your grade or possibly, just your feeling of season 1? And did you have any expectations for season 2?
Yeah, I think I gave it an A. I remember. I think you and Keith. No, I think you gave it an A plus, and I think Keith gave it an A as well.
I believe so.
Mm.
And I don't think James, were you on that?
James wasn't. No, James wasn't there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't
Okay.
watch the show at that time.
Do you have a grade? Because I know you watched season 1 recently.
Season 1, I think I would have graded it at the time. Well, let's just say now and at the time is the same. Probably a B.
Okay.
I was not as enthused as I did watch you guys, your pod, and you guys were in a higher level with season 1 than I was. So I'm gonna say yeah, it probably would have been a B.
Okay. Right.
Now, what was expected for season 2? I think something similar, because that's why I waited such a long time before I actually watched the show, because I was waiting to get everyone else's feedback. And I was filtering out who was a great fan of season 1 and is probably still on the sauce for season 2, and who was like me, like, this wasn't a bad show, and like, wow, this is a great season. Mm-hmm. Once I started hearing a lot of that type of audience, then I went ahead and watched season 2.
All right. Mike, what was your expectation?
For season 2?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just wanted to complete the story, right? Find out what all, because it kind of left us with that cliffhanger at the end of season 1. So I was like, whoa, what's going to happen next now? So that's pretty much what I was looking forward to. So
okay, so this, as I've said multiple times in every format that we've ever talked in, was even at the time of season 1 my favorite show. I was lucky enough to talk to Amanda Overton, one of the writers, also the executive story writer, executive story editor and writer of season 1, and have not been able to get in contact with her, unfortunately. Hopefully eventually, but she was also a writer on this season, and it's my favorite show of all time. So it's like my expectations were unfortunately like they couldn't be any higher.
Where's this dude's paychecks coming from?
Right.
Jeez.
So usually high expectations can lead to disappointment, and I'll give you spoilers, it didn't this time. So high expectations for me, and we'll kind of get moving from there now that we know where we started. I'm gonna just get a little general story background here. I see a lot I do a lot of reading about Arcane because it is my favorite so much, and I see a lot of reactions and stuff like that, and just I want to say that it's not like a the season one seemed like it was a dissertation on police brutality or that kind of thing, like the functions of power. But it's a lot more than that, and it's a lot deeper than that. And I think it was really into season two that you started seeing the bigger overall picture that they were going for. That yes, it. Let's see, it's about power. It's about who holds the power. It's about how much is too much power, imperfections, all of it. And yes, violence and class struggle is a big part of that, and it shows up quite a bit in there. But it's not just that. And I think after season one, a lot of expectations were, oh my god, it's just all class struggle stuff. And I think when it shifted gears to the more magical, bigger realm, I think a lot of people got a little confused, especially, you had an outside army attacking, you had, a god mode going on. And I think it got a lot of people
Time traveling.
time traveling. And I think a lot of people went, wait, this isn't really what I thought I was signing up for. So I can see where some people got a little weirded out by that switch up, but I don't know. I kind of went with the flow a little bit more than that. One of the biggest changes I think from season one to season two was the elevation of some secondary characters to main characters,
Mm-hmm.
and that this story had a lot of main characters.
It
Like,
became an ensemble cast. It felt like.
mhm. So, like, if you look at it, I think there's about 9 main characters that I would say that you consistently follow throughout the season. And for whatever other people think, I think it did that successfully, as difficult as that kind of a ensemble is. Do you guys think it juggled those characters well enough? Looking at season 1 where it was more like 6, you know, and then some, like Mbessa got elevated, Echo got a lot more time in this a lot. A little bit more time in this season, but was really much more important, especially near the end. Singed got quite a lot of time. So, like, what did you guys think about the juggling of all of these characters and as the story intertwined for them?
I think you kind of hit it on the head. I didn't think about that while watching this season. What was the? I guess you go from a main protagonist and secondary characters to like an ensemble cast of like Lost TV show, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where some characters might be at a higher level, but everyone is equally important to the narrative and story. So to kind of marry my original, I when I was telling you my take on season one, the grading is I actually was more interested once I saw the first two episodes where we were going, where everybody was equally important and every story was critical to a larger narrative at the time that we didn't quite know. So it made me be more engaged in
Mm-hmm.
season two than I was when I was watching season one. I'm pretty sure a couple episodes in season one I was drinking too, so that's another story. But I enjoyed watching season two, and this time with my son who had just finished watching season one, so he was
Mm-hmm.
really fresh, and his memory was more acute than mine was when I was watching season two. So him and I were kind of sharing our feedback, and then like you mentioned, for example, Echo, who he enjoyed from season one, he was kind of like, "Oh, where is Echo coming back?" And then that pivotal final acts, the last two episodes with Echo's character, it
Mhm.
made him go back and look at that entire season as more fun than the first season. So I know I'm long winded on this. I just want to say that I think as I'm watching season two, I was much more engaged with the show. It hyped me up a little more to watch each. Like for example, the cliffhangers come. You're like, I'll finish the next tranche next week. No, you're like, no, let me go, let me
Yeah,
go, let me go.
let me see
So
the next thing right now.
yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
see it.
Mike.
Yeah, for me, that actually made things better. If you remember, one of my critiques from season one was I didn't really care so much about Vi and Jinx.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're good characters, but like Jinx was just seemed to become a shitty person, and like even in this season, like Jinx was for the most part still a shitty person. So it kind of reminded me of like at the end, you know, she people were going to say she redeemed herself, but to me it's kind of Darth Vader level redemption, not like actual redemption.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But with the ensemble, you brought back what's his name, Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger was back. I like his
Oh yeah.
character. I like the evolution of Jace and Victor, and
Mm-hmm.
all these guys. They brought it together for me better this season.
Yeah, with having more, and plus they're not as separated. The biggest thing, and again, A plus on the first season, but what was happening in one area of the city and the other side of the city, though the effects reflected on everybody, they didn't really interact. You know, Jason never met Jinx. You know, Echo never met Mel. Those kind of things just like they never quite crossed as much. It was more like two parallel stories happening that kind of affected each other and a few crossover characters. Whereas this felt like holy shit, like a big like Civil War style, like everybody just coming
Yeah,
across.
they had to
And
bring them together in the end for the final
mhm.
battle, right? So
So it increases the pace quite a bit. Everybody's scenes are cut tighter because you don't have time, minus a few specific scenes that were important on building larger ideas. Say like episode 7 specifically is what I'm thinking of, where you have a lot to tell that affects everything else, but it's technically a very slow paced, off paced episode, whereas everything else was right, quick and moving. So definitely a different pace from season 1 to season 2, and the effect is specifically it moves up the timelines and everything like that. All right. Well, speaking of character switches, there was a villain switch. So you have Silco as kind of and we can talk about what a villain is and good and bad, but in general, overarching, you have Silco in season 1, who passes, rip, right? And then you really have kind of Mbessa playing the main role, main antagonist villain in season 2. Um, Even if she's not the big bad, she's the villain, kind of, and plays that role. What did you guys think of those two, that character switch? Do you think it worked, or did you prefer the Silco, the low, quiet, versus the big warmonger, like behind the scenes versus up front and everything, kind of these two
I
competing
think the
styles.
one that really got me was Singe and her mother, or Singe and her daughter.
His daughter.
Yes,
Okay.
and how that was like you're seeing both sides, but then you had a different opinion of the character in the first season,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you
and then
weren't quite sure of his motivation. He was just the evil scientist.
yeah, and then now you're like, oh, he's got some. He thinks it's the positive, but it's like the whole Thanos thing. Like
Right.
you love him, but you know he's fundamentally wrong because it's just not the way to do it. But yeah, I think that's the only one that really caught me as far as the archetype switches.
Mike.
yeah, the this I saw making what's her name's mom. What's her Nessa
Ambessa.
and Bess. Sorry, I'm not gonna get the names,
That's all right.
Yeah,
but
I can help you.
yeah,
Chris mode today.
yeah. But no, I thought that was good. I thought making her flip like that and kind of, to me, she seemed like she just went off the deep end, right? But and then leading that army and all that stuff, and then well, obviously, I think we're gonna get into Victor here in a minute, right? But
Mhm.
that whole thing at the end. So
Yeah. What drives me through this whole series is that each I could sit down and look and find motivations for every one of these characters' actions, good or bad, right or wrong. Like there's a motivation there, outside of like a couple of background characters, Rictus or whatever, the guy with the big beard. But
Yeah, I can see his face. I don't
those
know.
those kind of those kind of
Oh, the big
background
enforcer
characters.
guy.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
everybody else literally says what they want and why they want it and what's going on and what's driving them. Every single character does that, and you don't get that a lot in shows. I mean, I've been watching the Dune show, and I honestly couldn't tell you what half those people want.
Golly.
I'm trying to like that show.
Me too.
Like I'm on the third episode. I think I finished the third episode. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but
Right? No, we
I'm
don't want to.
yeah.
All right.
We'll have to do a review of it.
All right. So one thing I liked from season 1 to season 2, and then we're going to do a lot of this comparison here, is every character, every main character, minus say Echo, because Echo's just like this consistently good character, and then your villain. So like Mbessa had a consistent thing. Every one of them basically got switched. They were forced to see the other side of the coin from what they thought in season 1 to what they were kind of presented with and forced to do in season 2. So Vi now is a topsider and an enforcer, where she started the thing. She hated them. They killed her mom. Blah blah blah. Jinx is a hero and a big sister, things she wasn't in season 1. Jace sees the worst of Hex Tech. Victor sees the best. That's a switch between the two. Caitlyn's in charge. Mel is being played instead of she's the player. You know, so it was really interesting to me as I watched through, because I've watched all of this multiple times, that they really took these characters and said, you know what? You now have to take your worldview, and now, boop, you're in a completely different situation. What are you going to do with it? And it was really interesting because I never felt like the characters were out of character, even when they were doing stuff that, if you said they were going to do it in season 1, you might think, well, that they'd never do that, right? So it was just one of those things I saw. Did you guys see that switch? Did you like that kind of switch between the characters, or is that too much for you?
I don't know if I even saw it. Like honestly, like the only thing I could say is if you're talking about switching up maybe personalities is when Jinx took in the little girl and started becoming like a mother figure to her.
Right. So in season 1, she's the little sister,
Right.
and she's the Jinx. She's the destroyed one. She's the damaged
Yeah.
one. She needs protecting. And then in season 2, they give her a little sister. So then she has to see the world in a different way. She has to see it as a protector. And then she
Right.
sees all the paintings on the wall showing her as a hero to Zahn, because, like, she blew up the council, the people that were keeping them in their place. So suddenly she becomes a hero instead of a villain. So, like, her entire world, even though she didn't do anything different, she had to see the world from a different perspective, because
I think Caitlyn went through that too.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because her quest for vengeance,
Mm-hmm.
revenge in the beginning, that kind of had to be pushed aside, right?
Right, and in season 1, she was under her family's thumb. They wouldn't let her do anything. She had no
Right.
power, but she was trying to help. She was probably my biggest favorite switch of a character, was Caitlyn, and I loved her little Batman arc. It was great. She had the great cape. I mean, outside of like shooting people, but maybe she's a Snyder Batman. That kind of thing.
Jesus.
James, did you see what I'm talking about, or?
Absolutely not. I let you go on your little diatribe for like 5 minutes plus. Then I looked at Mike, and then Mike was trying to make some connections. No.
I no, I can see where he's going.
Yes.
The problem is, you and I have not watched this show as much as he has.
I
Like,
haven't.
If
but-
I've seen it 3 times, I would have been like, yeah, this. I see now.
We can
Yeah.
go back and watch The Sopranos 100 more times. and
Right.
New layers, but you'll never forget your first impressions, right?
Exactly. Like I think I've seen The Wire couple times now, and I could say
Okay, then let
I
me.
could do that with The
All right.
Wire, right?
Then,
But what I will like to opine on,
mhm.
totally, 90% different than what you brought up, was what Mike had mentioned with you call it a role reversal, but to me, it's more like an evolution of a character, which happens to a lot of these characters, but more so with Jinx's situation. And you mentioned, and Mike mentioned the fact that she was like the little sister before, but now she's being the mentor slash bigger sister. And I thought that story, I don't want to call it like a character switch. I think that evolution of that character was extremely significant to me in the overall arc of the show. Yeah, you've got supernatural beings and time traveling and hex magic and then a warring class and opposing forces and zombie, AI. There was a
Right.
lot of
going
stuff
on.
being thrown at you, but I think it was the crucial stories between certain characters that kept you interested in even like the circumstantial shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I agree 100% with James there. There came a point when, even animation wise, things started to look like a Jackson Pollock. And it was almost kind of like, I was kind of like, whoa, this is a little too much. Tony, just take it down a notch so I can kind of keep following the story, you know?
So
But
yeah, I've got animation put to the side for after our break.
It should be a
So
forefront, but yeah,
well,
you
we'll
and your
it I did
There's
I wanted to
much.
mostly go story writing, that kind of stuff first, and then after the break we'll hit music and animation and stuff like that. Just because we have less expertise a lot of there. We have opinions but less expertise. So there's going to be a lot less discussion going on to that. Is kind of what my thought process is.
I agree.
All right. All right. So we one of the things that kept the story moving, I thought, in season 2 a lot was there was never a single, you know, source of conflict. It was never just one versus another. There was always like a third wheel, a wild card that kept everybody out of balance, and it kept causing issues when, one thing this show does is it gets you feeling good. It gets you feeling happy. It gets you feeling kind of excited about an action scene or something like that. And then it throws a curveball at you and like smacks you in the face. So like when Vi and Kate are finally winning against Jinx Savika, and she's finally gonna beat Jinx, and then Isha's the wild card, the little girl. She comes in, she jumps in between, she blocks Kate from shooting the bullet, she makes Vi think about it, stuff like that. Or you go later in the series, and uh, they're they're going to save Vander, and they're gonna stop Imbessa. They're gonna stop the Singed, and then Jace is the wild card. He comes in out of nowhere. Nobody knew where the hell he was. He comes in and blows up Victor. So I love that this show always keeps you on your toes. Did you guys feel that in season 2? Did you notice it more in season 1, or was this?
so I'm gonna say this. It's Yes, I was on my toes, but I'm gonna say like half of that was confusion. Like this whole Black Rose thing, the other dimension, and then
That was all brand new stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so that kind of like threw me for a loop. Like, what is going on? So yeah, I was on my toes. It was because I didn't understand what the hell I was watching. So
Again, I see what Chris is referencing within the show now, going back. But what I thought I saw, it might be in the same vein of what you're trying to say with everything is interplayed with a wild card. Uh, I thought that every little subset story throughout the entire season 2, although it may have been happening in the silo, like the Black Rose ceremony, or Jinx and her little mentor and his sister on the run. Everything I thought,
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
little subset of story connected to another story in the next chain of events, and it kept going throughout the season. So you couldn't just take one story and kind of, oh, this is a filler. No, it's not. it's gonna play a pivotal role for the next arc, or maybe 2 episodes from now, like with Echo and his arc. So, the wild card to me was just the fact that they were able to do that. Like every little micro story was pivotal for the next story, and it kept on going. So
Yeah,
to me,
it
that was
does a
like some
great job
crazy
of not
form of
making anyone
narration
a
and storytelling.
periphery to the rest of what's going on. Even if they're not directly interacting, they are their actions have reverberations throughout the rest of the stories and whatever. And even the Black Rose was new, but it was in reference to. So if you go back to season one, and Bessa comes in and she's like, "Hey, there's your brother's dead. Someone's after us. You're in danger." So it's kind of a reflection of what started there without much explanation. And this show kind of wants you to, even though sometimes it's direct with its language, sometimes it's like, okay, I want you to take hints from the animation style. I want you to take hints from things you've seen other characters do. I want you to take hints from these characters' actions as to what's going on. And we're going to try to show you what we think is most important to why this character is doing their action, even if we're not going to literally explain what the fuck the Black Rose are. You just know they're a
Mm.
danger, and Bessa sees them as a danger, and that's motivating her.
Yeah,
So
I
one
like
of the
I
things
like that vantage point
comparatively
there.
to some other
Yeah,
writing
I agree.
is people are like, you know, I want the writers to treat me like like I'm smart. Like treat your audience like they can follow along. And sometimes I like a little explanation, sometimes I like a little directness, but this show kind of it doesn't always do that for you, and it kind
Mm-hmm.
of
Mike
requires
is
you to
confused.
sit. And I do a lot of second screening, we
Mm-hmm.
all do, but this show is kind of one that I've had to rewatch, and I understand where the confusion can come in on a show like that.
I mean, I was fortunate to watch it alongside with Eric also, so it was simultaneously his first time, my first time watching each episode, and we would kind of like
Point you.
not talk over the like we're doing right now, but we
Mhm.
would like at a certain scene, we're like, hey, you think this is such and such, and he'd be like, oh no, you remember last episode? That oh, yeah, good point, good point, good point.
Yeah, the multi-brain thing really helps when you don't have somebody next to you, or when you do have someone next to you. It helps to, if they catch something you don't catch, you know. And I've done that quite a bit. Like I said, I've watched reactions of this, I've watched breakdowns, and there's a lot of stuff I'm like, you're like, ah, shit, I missed that.
Yeah.
You know. Just in general, did you guys think, as we'll finish up this storyline stuff here? I don't want to go forever here on you. Do you guys think the individual characters, and if so, in one specific one, had satisfactory endings for you? You know, um, there was
If
there was a lot of death, a lot of kind of sad people at the end. It happens with when you have war in your movies. But did you feel like some character didn't get a scene that they needed to give you the satisfaction that they're they're moving forward with that character? you know do you know what I'm saying? Is there any?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't find that so much. I thought Vi and Caitlin's ending was decent. I liked when what's her face showed up at the council meeting at the end.
Savika.
Yeah, so to show they're being included now. So
Hmm.
I can't think of anybody who I think that didn't die. Obviously, right? That didn't get a proper ending. So
yeah, I'm trying hard to think. I don't think.
So you would have, and Bessa dies, and her daughter Mel takes up her mantle as the ruler of that tribe or group, or I don't
Group,
even know. It's not the whole country. That's something I've read
yeah,
about.
council
You've got
something.
the weird council, which is runs, and they have, like you said, Savika comes in as representative for the Undercity, so
Yeah, that's
they're
what it is.
being concluded. Um, so Jinx, what did you guys think of the Jinx ending?
Poetic, tragic yet poetic.
Yeah,
What if
kind of
I
figured it was coming.
But
Yeah.
but I mean, rumor is, and when this is near the end, but that she actually survived.
do you
You know, there's
It's
some
possible.
eggs that they kind of show there's a possibility of her being alive.
so
Yeah, I would think so. Vander, right? That was his name.
yeah, Vander and a Warwick.
Yeah.
Warwick is the werewolf version of Vander. Yeah.
So if Vander was just still in there and he recognized Jinx, maybe tried to protect her from whatever was happening, right?
All
So
right.
possible.
Do you want me to give you the
Sure.
what's probably
Yeah, go
what?
for it.
Yeah, man.
So the way Vander's dead.
Mm,
Um, when you see that the last image of his face and it's burning away,
mm,
that's Vander. He's toast.
oh,
So
Yeah.
he's just Warwick. So, but Jinx sacrifices herself to get rid of him because he's a danger to her sister. But there's, I think it's like two frames of animation in which you see a purple streak, which is whenever she used the shimmer, you would see
right.
that come from her eyes, jetting off to the side. And so when you see Caitlyn at the end examining the
Yes, that's the part I
the
heard.
stuff, the ventilation shafts, you get kind of a Luke Skywalker bit where
Mm,
she's falling down the shaft, but she jumps out, and then you the last scene of the entire show is the dirigible flying away. If you go back to the episode 1,
Mm,
her as Powder sees that exact same ship and says, "I'm going to fly in one of those one day." So that's
mm.
like
That part I didn't hear.
4 minutes into the entire series,
hmm.
and then the final shot is that ship flying away. So nobody knows for sure. There's no, you know,
We'll
um,
never know now,
The
right?
writers,
well,
that's why they gave us all those.
Yeah.
this series, even
It's
though
it's the inception top at the end.
right, exactly. This
But it wobbled.
this this series will continue even if these stories specifically aren't necessarily supposed to continue. So there's talk of going and following like Mel and going off into uh, I forget. Gosh, I can't even remember the name of the Noxus, the hometown
Game of
Noxus
Thrones
where
all
she's
over
from,
again.
and all of that. So if people looking forward to the future say, okay, I want another great story, high quality animation, you can expect it still coming, but it won't be about. It's not supposed to be about these characters. These characters are supposed to have some sort of an ending.
Yeah,
But
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
let's say it's the MCU, and 10 years from now, you might see Jinx or something. Put it that way.
Well, that'd be interesting.
All right. So next we would be getting into music and animation and stuff like that. Even though I could talk a million hours about story, I don't want to go into that. Great writing overall. I love the story. I think it makes or breaks anything. The writing. But why don't we take a break, Mike? People can stop. They can subscribe. They can like the video. They can go find us on YouTube. Well, you might be already on YouTube, or iTunes, any of your favorite podcasting app. Find us on social
Not the dark
media.
web, though. Do not go looking for
Do
us on the dark
not, do
web.
not like a Blue Sky, Twitter, the whole shebang. Facebook. You can find us there, and then we'll be back in a minute, and we're going to get into the other important things about an animated series, which is animation. And welcome back, everybody. We are here finishing off our Arcane Season 2 review, in which I'm doing 90% of the talking. I'm sorry. I can't help it. We're going to pretty much
We're
hit
gonna let you cook.
we're
It's
going to
all good.
we're going to hit two topics here. We're going to hit animation and music. It's not going to be as much talking, I'm sorry. But if you don't know much about Arcane's animation, it's rather striking. It's from a company called Fortiche. They are a French animation studio. They have been doing work with Riot prior to this series. You can check out the music videos and stuff like that that they made all prior to that as kind of proof of concept. They have a couple of proof of concept videos out there too. It's fun to look at and look forward to seeing what they do next. A few interesting things about the animation. It's a mix of 2D and 3D. So they build 3D models, but then they do a lot of hand animation of those 3D models as opposed to other shows where you might see kind of, you know, a, a little automaton feeling moving and, facial expressions and stuff like that. And I think what makes this so different is you can feel the individual artistry of each of these characters of the movement. The little things. I don't know. You guys probably haven't done it, of course, but if you've seen, you can see eye twitching, you can see little lip movements, you can see facial expressions. You can actually read every facial expression on every character. What I know you guys aren't big animation guys, but what did you feel like it was different than what you normally watch?
Yeah, one thing I've said about this
Can you guys hear me,
show from the beginning is that it's gorgeous, right? And it's very detailed.
Chris?
So you don't find a lot of that in,
Anywhere.
low budget stuff. So
9 million an episode, by the way, if you want to know.
wow, holy cow! I did not know that.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of details in the animation style, and it looks great. But I said, oh, hang on, got a message from James. Yes, you did. um, I was starting to say like in towards the middle of the season, like I started almost too much with the you know animation style, but all in all, I still thought it was beautiful. So
Yeah, I will bring that up since you brought it up until James gets back here. Is they did a specific thing more this season than they did in season one, where they switched up the style when they wanted
mm,
to hit you with a specific emotional change or
hmm,
a specific, hey, this is a flashback, by the way, or this is a memory, or
right,
this is you're in the middle of someone's brain, whatever it is. They did that quite often, and in
mm,
season one you had once or twice. And I it was such an interesting choice for me with how often they did it. It was almost dangerous to an extent, like you said, Mike. Um,
mm,
because even when they did the different parts of, like, so the bander, it was, it happened quite often around the bander stuff.
yeah,
Is, sometimes it was colored pencil, sometimes it was
right,
watercolor,
yeah,
sometimes it was the full regular, the flashback memory to their mother scene
mm-hmm.
was,
Hello, hello.
hey, how you doing?
Gotcha, James. Go ahead.
Sorry,
All right, hold
technical
on, just let me
difficulty.
finish this one point. And so, like you said, sometimes it's watercolor, sometimes it's colored pencil, sometimes it's their regular style to tell a full
Mm-hmm.
tale, and they did that quite often, and I loved it, and I think it did its job because it was mostly meant to hit you in a specific emotional tone, as opposed to being, and they do the same thing with music, but we'll get to that. Is they change it up to hit you specifically, you know, in it. That's
Yeah,
really
it kind
cool.
of reminded me of Spider Verse, Into the Spider Verse,
Right,
with
where
the
the
different
different
animation styles for
characters get
different characters,
different
right?
things.
Yeah.
Right, but this is more done like Inside Out, where it's done
Mm-hmm.
to emotionally manipulate you, which it works with.
Right.
Sorry, James, we lost you up. Do you remember where we
Yeah,
were?
I'll just be short. The point that I was trying to make before the technical difficulties was that I did love certain aspects of the animation and how it changed throughout the season.
Hmm.
I loved the graphic novel feel of some of the fight choreography that was happening, particularly in the final two episodes and the final act. But there was that moment also with the whole astral projection and
Hmm.
otherworldly and other universe type of change. There was definitely like visible change in the way that stuff was animated. Again, every episode kept me intrigued. Like whether it's the animation, the story, the continuation of characters, there's nothing else I can say about this.
And I'll tell you what I noticed, and I mean it's obvious. Compared to season one, season two went a lot. Started especially the first three episodes with almost like a little music video style jump up, and
Yeah.
the way I interpreted that is, hey, there are big changes to this world, and before we get into these individual scenes about these individuals, we're going to use this little music video to set a tone for how everybody feels around this event. So, like, you have the funeral, the Karaman funeral in the beginning, and so you get the tone of how Caitlyn and the town and Vi and how they're separated and blah blah blah. Then you
Yeah.
have like the Get Jinx video, no, not Get Jinx, the Paint the Town Blue video, where you
Yeah.
have the
Check that.
rioting and how the town is feeling and how they're searching for Jinx and where Caitlyn is in this and where the rest of the town is and how Jinx is actually separated from all of this. And they use these it's an interesting use of animation that I hardly ever see. And that they said, okay, we're going to set you a tone before we actually get into the story. And I don't know if that worked for everybody.
Worked for me. No, no, I definitely this time I smell what the Rock is cooking. And yeah, I agree. I like the change of tone. I like the setting of the tone, I should say, before you get into like a particular small arc of an episode. That's brilliant. Yeah, I agree with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many little details. It's wild. Like, so in episode 7, we get um, Echo. We finally get a full Echo episode, and he meets a good Jinx. He goes to the alternate universe. Everybody's alive.
Hmm.
Everybody's
Yeah, I
happy.
forgot about that.
Hextech was never made. And so in the dance scene where him and Jinx are dancing,
Oh,
that
I remember.
there's a detail that everybody's pointing out is that it's animated in 4 frames per second. It's animated on 4. So if you animate on ones,
Who's a nerd that counted that?
if you animate on ones, you animate 20. Uh, there's movement for every second. If you animate on twos,
Mm.
whatever. But so basically, it's a 4. So you get kind of almost this weird stop motion video feeling to their dance, but because Echo can turn back time in a maximum of 4 seconds, so people are making
Oh, that makes.
they're
Oh,
Ah,
they're
okay, okay.
those little details. What did I see today? That when Heimerdinger says he was lost for 1,000, he has a specific amount of days he was lost, right? Apparently, that's the exact number of days from the release of season 1 of Arcane to the release of part 3
all
of
right.
Arcane season
I
2.
was with you when the time because you were there, but now you're sounding like those Kendrick Lamar fans. It's like, oh, if you listen to this verse, he's talking about when Drake came to his house at 3:30 p.m. That's why the song is called 3:30. No, like
Well, I
Now
mean,
I knew it was funny,
reminds me more of the lost message boards back in the.
which I was on. Yes, Lost Media, you name it. I was on those. No,
Mhm.
no, no.
but one thing they do really well here is they do details. Everything from costume changes to hair to background to the shapes of glasses. Um, the Art Deco style that's all around Mel versus, what the last drop looks like and all of that. And I just want to. There are so many different people who work on these things that aren't just character animators or writers that kind of never get called out. And just every one of them, I wanted to call out character designers, background painters, because a lot of this background isn't built 3D. It's someone painting a background, almost like going back to Star Wars, Episode 4, and someone painting the entire ship as a background, and you're like, holy shit, someone did that, you know. And that's basically what these people are doing, and it it's such an amazing skill build between multiple people.
Do you know if the season 1 was nominated for anything?
A lot of Annie awards.
So they were okay.
Annie is the
So they
animation
definitely
awards.
will this season. Then, if they were nominated last season, yeah, they should
It
be.
won. It won something at like the video game awards, which this year it lost to what was the other Ella Parnell series?
Oh,
The
Fallout.
Fallout. Fallout
Yeah.
won this year, but anyway. But
Hmm.
that's the video game awards. Nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see
No,
if
they don't really care about the TV shows being nominated at the Video Game Awards. Yeah.
yeah, but
My connection was the fact that if they were nominated, if they were at least nominated last year, then they should be like overwhelmingly favorites this year.
I did feel like there was an upgrade. Like one of the other things I saw that they didn't do as much in season 1 that they did in season 2 is especially around fight scenes. You would have big splash pages.
Yeah.
I'd say it like comic book splash pages that they would put either pause or slow motion through,
Which I loved, but yeah,
and then they would go like the fast motion, then splash page, like, and I thought it really, without making the fights longer, they was actually quite short most of the time. They made them more impactful by that decision, and they make great screenshots, right?
like great poster shots, man.
Mhm.
Like great stuff.
All right. I think I should let you guys kind of get away from this for me.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to ask you just your favorite episode or character, or some combination of each,
Oh God.
which, and your grade for Arcane season 2 and all of it. Like, what would you give this entire series as a whole? Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. So, episode 7 is actually my favorite. Well, I didn't know until I looked it up that our friend of the show, Amanda, was one of the writers on this episode. But you love kind of seeing these characters who've gone through hell and back. You love kind of seeing them happy a little bit. I know Vi's dead. I'm sorry, Vi. You're still my favorite character. But I like seeing Jinx and Echo kind of calm down and have a great time and kind of live a life. Jace had to go through some shit. Sorry, Jace, but it's still my favorite episode. I just love the change of pace before all of the other big emotional beats happen. So that is my favorite. By still my favorite character, and this is an A plus plus whatever else extra credit. It is still my favorite show of all time. That's
God
just where
damn!
it
All
is.
right, you're glazing.
All right, who wants to go next?
Dad, Mike.
All right, so I'll probably have to rewatch it, like season 2. But I think so far my favorite episode was the Echo in Another Timeline episode. I really like that
Episode
one.
7. Yeah.
Yeah,
God damn.
yeah. So that one did it for me, and really cool. And like I said, I like the little guy, Heimer.
Heimerdinger. He's a being of pure magic, by the way. He doesn't die.
It's like 1,000 years old.
Yeah, it's like the Yoda of that universe, right?
Yeah.
But he was also the president, sort of. So like it was his fault. The whole class war thing was going on. So he is kind of like ACAB, if you really want.
Wasn't also his fault. ACAB. Whoa! Now we're definitely getting canceled. Fault that whatever magic had like reduced in the world. Oh, he was part of like that.
So yeah, he was there during the Rune Wars, where he saw the mages destroy everything, which is why he outlawed. He was part of the reason they outlawed magic in the city to begin with. He survived all that, and so, but he also oversaw a council that, let the Undercity turn to ruin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not everybody's built to be in office, by the way.
So, are we giving grades right now too?
Yes, grade 2.
Okay. I think I'm somewhere between like A minus B plus for this season.
Okay.
So,
and
I think I'm gonna go just B plus on it.
So between both seasons, would you marry the two and go with an A minus, or would you
Overall for the series,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'd probably go A. Definitely, yeah, A minus. Because even if you average out my A from season one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So straight A minus there.
Okay, we're on the honor roll. James, what do you got?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't have a favorite episode this season because again, I was watching it and every episode I was like, yes, yes, and I kept on going.
Okay, did you have a character that you liked better than others?
Um, but hold on, before we get there,
Okay.
I did when Mike brought up the Echo time traveling, I forgot that was actually episode 7 as well. That stood atop of the rest of the episodes because it, to me, my Star Trek and multiverse madness brain started activating too. So I was all dopamine up with that episode. So that's probably my favorite episode of the season. Um, Favorite actor was definitely V, and it was since the first episode. I think Jinx made my number 2. And this season, not so much the first season,
Mm-hmm.
the whiny brat turned to like an actual fully developed character that was still kind of a whiny brat. So she was my second favorite character, and then honor roll, you know, goes to Echo,
Mm-hmm.
who yeah, it was kind of mediocre for me in season 1, but season 2,
He
his
didn't get.
arc was
I was surprised how little time he got in season one. It was disappointing, but I was glad
yeah.
he got some more face time in season two. More
So he's my
important
honorable
role.
mention. Oh, and grade, yeah, B plus. This is definitely an A show for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give it an A plus. I think there's a couple things I really want to start nitpicking that takes me out of a. For example, Succession to me was an A plus, and I know you're
Mm-hmm.
show that's an A plus. This is definitely an A.
Mm-hmm.
And then overall the season, average out the my B with whatever, but
All right, that sounds pretty good. Mike, did you give us a favorite? Did you have a character that stuck out to you?
I don't know if I had a favorite character. There are definitely characters I like. I like Caitlyn.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I like Vi, Echo. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Caitlyn was the one this season that jumped the most from the previous season. You know,
mm-hmm.
yes, the
Yeah,
biggest jump, yes,
because you like a character that wants to do good, but she was a green and whatever, and just kind of doing her thing. And
yeah, she was definitely a second tier character season 1
mm-hmm.
to ensemble cast top line.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I mean, we love lesbians, right? So
God damn it! Now we
They
can't
do love each other. We saw that in the
that's
preview.
right.
cancel by the right and the left.
Hey, none of us said episode 8 was our favorite, so it's okay.
Nah.
Well, I can give you a timestamp of my favorite.
Oh my god.
All right, guys, I appreciate you doing this with me, watching it for me, and
Yeah, that's why we're here.
and listening to me droll on. And I could, and if anybody
Blazing.
else is out there who just wants to talk about it for hours, just let me know. I'll do it.
This guy.
Hit him up on Blue Sky. He's there. He's
Blue
waiting
Sky,
for
I
you.
am there. I am posting. I'm posting about it every day.
Okay, so now we just need to get James to watch Megalopolis so we can discuss
and
that.
Joker 2.
And Joker 2 so we can discuss these. Holy crap. Because you know what, guys? We're going to do our end of the year and we're going to talk about our favorites, but we also need to discuss the worst things of the year. And if you haven't seen it, we can't really discuss it, right? So
Oh yes, we can. I'll
we
tell
want to
you.
be
Those two will be on my worst movies of the
Informed.
year.
but we want to be that fair podcast,
Fair
right?
and
Where
balanced podcast. You about to say fair and balanced?
not balanced. I don't give a shit about balance. This ain't the Force, buddy. No, what I'm saying is like, yeah, we can't. We're not. I'm not gonna shit on something that I haven't seen, right? So, but I did see Megalopolis, and I'm ready to shit all over that.
This feels like fucking homework. All right. The
All
people
right,
are spoken.
everybody. It was good having you around. We will see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Finding me online.
All right. Good night.
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 Hey, Indigo made the beat.